Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show, a member of the Podbros Podcast Network. Don't forget to go to podbros.com and find yourself another podcast you want to listen to. And check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company and Tape Armor, and find all of our old episodes at bjjshow.com. I'm Rob, and Aaron came over tonight, and we talked a bit about facing your fear and jiu-jitsu competitions and how to get better at it. And it was a really good conversation. We talked a lot about, I guess, maybe not worrying so much about what other people think about you while you're training or competing and whatnot, but I'll tell you what, it's probably a little bit better to let you listen to it instead of try to explain it. So, if you guys want to hear or have any other topics you'd like for us to discuss, shoot us an email. There's a submission form on bjjshow.com, and we'll get to it. So, hope you guys enjoy the episode, and I'll catch you guys after this podcast. I think the coolest thing about it was eating. We went to this one restaurant. Ate maybe not so cool, but ate bull testicles.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's an experience. I
would have absolutely done that. Yeah, I mean, you could do it in Colorado too, Rocky Mountain oysters. But yeah,
that's what somebody called them too. I was just kind of like, don't. The guy came up and said, "Hey, would you like testicles, sir?"
Yeah.
I said, like,
fuck yeah, I would.
Yeah, why not? Because
were they fried?
Yeah, they're fried. They're good. They're pretty good actually.
Sounds good.
Yep. So
and then you experienced a fucking raging erection that lasted for.
I did. I stood up and knocked my wine glass over just from like the sheer strength of it. But
cool.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. I'm Rob.
I'm Aaron.
And we're back, man. We're talking. I was in Kenya for a couple weeks, and we got stuck on talking about testicles and bull testicles.
Yeah, I heard you ate some balls.
I did. I stuck a bunch of balls in my mouth.
I heard you had balls in your mouth.
I did. It was pretty crazy.
I heard you had tasty, salty balls in your mouth. Did you?
People watched me put balls in my mouth, too.
So there was a bunch of people standing around saying, "Oh, look, Rob's putting balls in his mouth." Okay, cool. Did any of them have balls in their mouths too?
I enjoyed it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could have predicted that. I think. Yeah. So when you were in Kenya, what other sightseeing activities did you do?
We went to the Elephant Orphanage, which is like probably the most depressing but coolest place ever.
Okay.
I've been to.
Is that where the elephants that don't have families go?
Yeah. So pretty much like they'll run around, and it's a foundation, and they'll look for like elephants who are stuck in traps, whose moms and dads got murked by poachers and stuff. And I was like, I put my sad face on. I was like, it's like Dumbo kind of in a sense.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, and then we have like people going around looking for the poachers, and I'm like, you got squads of dudes rolling deep, and they find poachers and they just light them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, here's $50. Go do that.
So I know there's some like veterans organizations. Well, organizations, they're like founded by former military people that actually will go and advise these squads. They'll train them on small unit tactics and medical and stuff like that, because they legitimately get into real firefights with these poachers. I mean, it's like a counterinsurgency type thing. So they're out there actually fighting dudes who are just shooting rhinos and elephants and stuff. I mean, that's crazy to me. I mean, Africa is an absolutely enormous place with the biggest diversity of fauna and flora in the entire world. And it's just so totally fucked up in so many ways. And there's like so many different like little mini wars being fought out there. It just blows my mind that there are people that are fighting other people over the killing of animals. And that's nuts to me, dude. And then people from the US are saying, let's go over there and let's help train these guys.
I think it's nuts in the sense that like, so pretty much the whole, we're going to get depressing. It's not about jiu-jitsu. I don't care. But pretty much like people are going over there and say, you know what's cool? we're gonna just blow this rhino's head off, maybe wound it. We're just gonna chop its horns off and let it suffer.
Yeah.
Like, growing up, I grew up hunting, doing some hunting stuff, and my dad said, "You never it's not for sport; it's for food, and you treat it with respect.
Yeah.
Not, hey, look, I got a deer head. Fuck it, it suffered. Who cares? And then
Yeah.
you just saw the head off and don't worry about anything else.
that
ain't cool.
You're taking a life force, a life energy. I mean, I have a lot of times where I think about the fragility. This is going to sound really gay, but I think about, and I say gay in the 1995 way, where I don't mean it's actually gay. I just mean silly. I'm a silly goose.
Yeah.
I'm someone who thinks too much. So I think about how fragile my own life is. The idea that I can day to day exist and not be just murked somehow. When you can go on YouTube, you can go on the internet, and you can see just videos of completely random accidents and stuff, just people getting waxed. 100 people in Iraq, 200 people in Afghanistan in a market, the people at the Bataclan in France just getting schwacked, and it's some guy getting run over by a train. It's just incredible to me that I've made it to the point where I am, and I completely forgot what my fucking point was. I literally just forgot what were we talking about? The fragility of life.
Yeah, just how it's nuts that we're having people people are out there when you hunt, you take a life.
Yes, sorry, hunting. Yeah. So the fact that you go out there and you're taking life in order to feed yourself, and that's a natural evolutionary process, and I'm totally good with that, but I think that there's an aspect of that where it's you do have to have this sort of reverence for the life that you're taking.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people who hunt, I don't know that I'm entirely comfortable with the idea of displaying taxidermy trophies. I think they're interesting to look at. I don't know that I would personally do it, but I would absolutely hunt. I didn't grow up hunting. I grew up on military bases. I mean, there was just not something that my dad actually told me a story when he was 10. He went out hunting with my grandpa, who's a good guy, but at the time he was kind of a bit of an alcoholic, and they went out there and they went hunting for ducks, and my grandpa shot a duck, and the duck was still alive, and he made my dad go up to it with a BB gun and shoot it until it was dead. My dad stood there and shot 150 BBs into this duck, just, and the duck just didn't fucking die. And so that made my dad completely turned off to hunting.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So for me personally, I would absolutely hunt because I don't really agree with. Anyway, let's talk about fucking jiu-jitsu. That was incredibly depressing. So one of the things that I've been we've been talking about is the idea. So competition, right? And so I'll start by talking about my competition history. I've done 2 jiu-jitsu competitions, and I think I might have talked about this on the podcast before. My first competition, I went out there incredibly nervous. I didn't have a coach in my corner. I just said to myself, I'm a month into jiu-jitsu. I'm going to go compete, because I'd had a little bit of jiu-jitsu before when I was in the Marine Corps, and I viewed myself from this perspective of, I want people to see me as this badass guy who competes in jiu-jitsu competitions.
Yeah.
And this is a theme in my life, is this idea of how do people view me versus what do I actually want? And that's a deeper topic that is come about, and I've realized that after years of just sort of trying to figure out what drives me and my own self-awareness. So I went to this competition, and I was incredibly anxious and incredibly nervous. I didn't have somebody to coach me or corner me, warm me up, tell me when to do things. I did everything by myself, and I went out in my first match. I felt paralyzed. I felt like I didn't know what to do. I felt like everything that I learned in the gym, every time, when I'm rolling with people, with new people, and I'm improvising and adapting and doing these jiu-jitsu moves and doing different things, I couldn't do any of that when I was actually out there. And I realized that I hated competition. I won that first match, and I lost my next two. I was choked completely unconscious in one match, which was fun because this is what I'm talking about. I wanted people to think I was a badass. I had always wanted to be choked completely unconscious, and I never had. So at that point, I literally had no idea. The dude did a loop choke on me. And it was only a year later that I actually knew what the fuck the technique was. So the dude loop choked me. I was choked completely unconscious. And I left, and that entire competition, I was incredibly anxious, incredibly nervous. I had that really just shitty adrenaline dump feeling where your entire body feels weak. You can't move quickly. You can't do your grips. I felt awful. And that turned me off to competition really badly. I did one more competition, and my first couple of matches it was at white belt, and I did the white belt competition, and I did really shitty again. And then I did the absolute competition. And so this is a pivotal moment for me. I did the absolute competition going against any belt level, and I went out there and I had no fear because I had disconnected myself from the results. I had disconnected myself from winning, and I disconnected myself from losing. And I went out there, and I shot a double leg on a guy and got it. I had no fear. I was relaxed. Everything was working, and the guy fucking mounted guillotined me. So, that's okay.
Yeah,
but the feeling of going into that absolute round is now what I want to capture in competition. So I've decided to do competitions now, and I know that there are things like you have to have some exposure therapy, you have to go and actually go out there and do it and just do more of them, but I want to do it because I think about competition all the time, and I want to go out there and I want to test myself against other people, in that 100% scenario. Occasionally do that 100%, like go out there and do everything that I can. And I think now I'm at the point where, so I've asked you to help coach me to the point where I can do that, and where there's a few things that we're going to do. But so that's where I'm at. I mean, that's the big thing in jiu-jitsu for me right now is deciding that I actually do want to go do some competitions after having two really horrible competition experiences.
So, I thought a lot about it because we talked about it last night, and just kind of based on a lot of my experiences, it's not, I don't have all the answers in life. I really don't. And I definitely don't have all the answers in jiu-jitsu. But I started thinking about a lot of the things that I kind of went through myself as far as competition, the way I felt, maybe just the overall view on competition as well. That's coming not just from jiu-jitsu, it's coming from wrestling, it's coming from taekwondo, it's coming from kickboxing. There's a lot of, everybody loves the big tough fighter, right? Everybody loves them. I don't care what sport it is. If you're a badass karate dude, you're going to have people who go, oh, you're the fucking Kumite champ from, 1984 or whatever. People love you. Kickboxing, same thing. Jiu-jitsu, since that's our sport and that's what this podcast is about, it's the same thing.
They love the idea of that really badass dude or chick that goes out there and he, you can see it on them. They're a competitor, and they go out there and they do that spin kick, that knocks people out, and they walk off like they're fucking, like it's nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just like a movie.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, a lot of people kind of this. I'm going to get into a pet peeve, and then we're going to walk. Then I want to try to walk our way into how it's going to work and how we can make it work for ourselves, and just kind of maybe a perspective that I found where I really don't give a fuck what happens at a tournament anymore. It doesn't affect my jiu-jitsu journey. We'll go from the first part where it's like everybody wants to be super badass. Everybody puts the cart before the horse. And I've talked about this multiple times on this podcast. There's the culture of the Instagram hashtag jiu-jitsu lifestyle. There's the talk about how, everything is, got my training in today. Like, this goes for a lot of people, like a shitload of people, ton of people. Everybody captures the really fun part of the day of the training. Nobody captures the part where I get my ankle popped because I didn't tap soon enough to a heel hook, and thankfully it was only my ankle that popped. Or, I woke up this morning, I had to roll out of bed instead of sitting up because last night we did throws and my back's hurting me.
Or you had a day of rolling where you literally, it was all you could do to just not get tapped out. You couldn't do anything on the offense, or you were so tired during your first round that you didn't understand, like you just were getting smashed by guys that you normally wouldn't have gotten smashed by, that kind of thing.
Nobody ever takes the Instagram picture of the bad shit, which maybe I'm going to start doing. I'm going to revolutionize Instagram now. Let's talk about the bad shit that happened.
Yeah.
I want to do it. Let's do it.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that time where you do your couple of rounds against people that are not as skilled as you, and then that big guy that you know is going to be a tough round looks at you and you look away and you look at some little guy and you roll with that little guy instead. Those little that shit fucks with me, man.
It should.
That's one of the reasons why I want to do competitions, and it's one of the reasons why I do jiu-jitsu in the first place, because it's a constant battle against yourself. It's that constant battle to roll with the guy that you know is going to give you the hardest roll. To go in there and that you don't feel well, and to say, fuck, man, if I roll with John, these are 7-minute rounds. I know I'm going to be in side control 5 of those fucking minutes on the bottom, getting my shit pushed in, and it's like, or worse than that, it's like, oh, I know I could get out of that. I know that I would be able to defend that or get out of that or reverse that, but I'd have to put so much effort into it. And I know that physically is going to be so difficult. That's why I do jiu-jitsu. That's why I'm going for the competition, is doing that thing that legitimately scares me. But I say that because I've gotten a lot better at it, just because that's what my goal has been. That's why last night I said, when I, after, we were doing these rolls, these 4-minute rolls that were sort of simulating competition. We had like a kumite circle going on. And so we're telling people, roll with this guy. And so I rolled with a kid who's like, he's like, 15, 16 years old. And he's a great wrestler, but he's a lot smaller than me. And, I beat him pretty quick, and I was a little, I had my heart rate up and stuff. And then you were going to tell me to sit down, and well, you had told John to stand up, and I said, I'll roll with John, And John is this big guy. We talked about him before. Big blue belt, just great grappler, has, grappling, really good grappling instincts. Yes, much bigger than me, very tough, very strong, very good at not getting submitted, and very good at smashing, right? And I said, I want this guy. And it was like that idea of, that's the scariest guy to roll with for me, because I know that he's going to present the biggest challenge, because my shit doesn't work on him a lot of the time. You try and collar choke that dude, his neck is so thick and he just puts his chin down. It doesn't work, You try and triangle that dude, he's thick. I can't get my legs around him. So I know that guy is going to be tough for me. And like I said, this is why I want to compete, because I want to go out there and I want to face, that fear every time that I step up to do these rolls. And for a long time, I've been saying to myself, oh, okay, well, jiu-jitsu for me is not about sport competition with other jiu-jitsu practitioners. And that can still be true. But I can still go and do jiu-jitsu competitions as a means of exercising that fear of fighting something unknown. Does that make sense?
No, it really does. And the thing is, for the majority of our training together, right? It's going to get to the point where you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to know what you're going to do. And it just turns into a giant stalemate. best example I can think of that is even not in jiu-jitsu. It's actually in taekwondo. My brother and I trained together forever. And for a while, we were actually in the same division. And we would have to fight each other occasionally. So what was cool was at least the tournament people were cool enough where they're like, look, they're brothers. Put this guy on one end of the bracket, put the other guy on the end of the bracket. Because we're just barbarians or whatever, and we liked hitting people really hard and just killing people's will to fight. We'd usually meet in the finals. And it was always decided by like 1 or 2 points. Because it was always, I knew what he was going to do, he knew what I was going to do, and that's how it turned out to be.
How old's your brother compared to you?
So I'm 33, so he's 31.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so we're like right there at the same age.
Okay.
So the thing too, like, you know, thinking about it, something gave me a really big realization was, I think the last time I went home, you know, just like every other Facebook jiu-jitsu person, you're going to have pictures of you doing jiu-jitsu and training with people and stuff like that. Your occasional wins, you know, you're showing off like, hey, you know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a good year, blah, 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 blah. Nobody ever asks you, here's the thing, let me make sure I'm not the fluke. If people ask you about your jiu-jitsu, right? Like, hey, you know, you're doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu or whatever. It's kind of a little more mainstream now because of the UFC and whatnot.
Yeah.
They never ask you, what major competitions have you won? They never ask shit like that, do they? Oh, that's pretty badass. You think you can beat this person? Like, you know, have you ever had a fight? It's always stuff like that. It's never like, oh, so when's the last time you competed in an IBJJF tournament? Or, you know, how's your record look? Like, it's never that. It's always like, holy shit, you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Because when I was home, I had this kid, we were in a band together, and he was like, Rob, you know damn well you can go to the UFC and compete. Well, that's actually quite the opposite. I know damn well I cannot go to the UFC and compete.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate the vote of confidence, dude, but we know, those of us in the know the reality of it, right?
Okay.
Whereas outside of it, so it kind of brings me to this thing, too, that kind of helped me out a bit was, who am I worried about disappointing besides maybe myself, because I put a lot of work into it for this competition? Because my coach isn't going to give a shit. Because I'm going to go
unless you have a shit coach like you told me about. You had a shit coach who was just pissed off if you didn't get first or second.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, see, that would fuck me up.
Yeah,
you know?
It did, but you know what? That was one very brief moment in my jiu-jitsu career.
Okay.
I've had, you know, some pretty good ones. I was in Arizona, losing wasn't a big deal. North Carolina losing wasn't a big deal. Texas was the one where it really was like, I got injured more in Texas in my short span of training there, dealing with the coaching and the people there.
Wow.
Than I have the rest of my jiu-jitsu time.
Wow.
It was pretty terrible there.
Well, that's a really good point, is you're putting these expectations. Me, personally, I'm putting, and I think a lot of people do this, I put these unrealistic expectations on myself, and if I don't live up to those expectations, well, there might not be this is the thing. So let me take a step back. They might not be unrealistic. I may have what it takes to win. I may have coaches who are just saying, you know, I may have coaches who are blowing smoke up my ass, but I might have coaches that are saying, look, I think you have what it takes to win. If you can conquer your mind, if you can figure your mind shit out, you can win, you know? So I think me personally, I get wrapped up in this idea of what I should do or what I think I should be capable of versus executing, you know, the way that I do when I'm at my best. Yeah. So there's a difference between the two of those, right? Like, you can have these. So, you know, I used to compete in shooting sports. And shooting sports, they made me a little nervous, but it didn't make me anywhere near as nervous as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu did. And I don't know why that is. I think possibly it was because of how much I had practiced, you know? But I would go up to the line, and it would be this thing called 3-gun, and you would shoot pistol, rifle, shotgun, and you would, you know, you had these targets, and you could see them, and you could, you know, the shots were there, and I think maybe it was just a less multi-dimensional sport than jiu-jitsu because you never really know what your opponent's going to do in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it was, I'd go out there and shoot but the days when I would put the expectation on myself of, hey, you have to win this or you have to do really well, I would do really shitty.
Yep.
And the days when I disconnected myself from the outcome, I would do really well. So in jiu-jitsu, it's like I got to find a way of not putting this expectation on myself like, oh, if I go out there, I should be winning against these guys because my coach told me I can win against them, versus the correct way to look at it is my coach told me that I can win against these people, so now I just need to execute my jiu-jitsu the way that my coach has seen my jiu-jitsu. And that's it. That's all I got to do, and it doesn't matter if the outcome is good or bad because my coach has also seen me lose matches in the gym. My coaches watched me get my shit pushed in, for lack of a better term, get defeated. My coaches watched me be defeated.
Yeah.
Or I like, I don't like getting my shit pushed in, but I like the phrase "getting my shit pushed in."
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty good phrase.
It's a good phrase. It really puts it all up there.
Yeah. My wrestling coach back in high school said he's like, I will not tolerate a mat room champion at all. He's like, he really left some really good lessons that I kind of took with me, like win with grace or lose with grace, win with humility. I don't care how well you do in the mats, like the mat room, like it really counts how you do out there. There's a whole lot of stuff. I mean, Grant, he was a very good wrestler, had some really good coaches, had some really good wrestlers on the team, and we never really had any problems with people like losing and acting like dicks.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing too. Like, if one of my students loses, I'm not kicking them out of the gym.
Yeah.
It's just a learning point because guess what? I've lost a lot.
Yeah.
That's what I try to tell people. Like, in all fairness, I've lost a lot more than I've won. I've gotten to win some like cool shit.
Yeah.
But I've lost a lot more. Honestly, I've lost more tournament matches than I've won tournament matches.
Wow. Interesting. I didn't know.
It's like, it's learning, and that's how you get better, and you find something that makes you get better. Never been kicked out of a gym for losing. I've never had my coaches outside of Texas tell me I suck. Right? Never had, it's just the way it is, and that's the thing too. Like, everybody realizes it. Everybody talks about, King Cornelius, probably one of the best grapplers ever. He's lost. He's gotten third. He hasn't even got in the finals. He got third.
Yeah.
Roger Gracie has lost.
Yeah.
Everybody has lost. Maybe not Hickson, according to him, but whatever. But I guarantee you, at some point, Hickson has lost
and just never told anybody about it.
He just kept it a secret.
It's a
like, dear
secret.
Diary.
Yeah.
Today I lost, but nobody will ever know about it.
I'm sure the rest of the Gracie family wouldn't admit it either.
Yeah,
You're like, no, Hickson has never lost. It's like,
yeah, you go out there and you prove it. That's the thing.
We watched Hoist Gracie lose multiple times.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
like watching my dad get beat up.
Yeah,
we watched him lose.
I watched a fucking match between Hoist Gracie and some jiu-jitsu guy, and Hoist Gracie got choked completely unconscious. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he won, UFC 1, 2, and 4. And it's like, and the other things that he's done, and the fact that he gave me my blue belt. Like, for me, I need to disconnect myself from. Excuse me, I'm a little burpy. I need
had a couple of beers.
I had a beer, so I need to disconnect myself. I mean, this is a challenge, and this is why I want to tackle is my own personal mind doing things to my body, because I've realized over time that my mind is incredibly persuasive to make my physical parts do things that I don't want them to do, right? Like shoot my heart rate up, or make me vomit, or make me, when I was in the Marine Corps, I used to, before runs, because I knew that I wasn't a great runner, and before hikes, because I was an okay hiker, but I just would get nervous. It was mostly before PT runs in the morning. I was a terrible runner. I could pick somebody up and carry them on my back for a half mile, and I was one of the only people that could do that, because I just was strong, and I would, work out. I would do that. I would train for that. But I just have something in me with these runs. It's just running. It's just long running. But if I knew we were going on a long run, my fucking body would sabotage me, and my mind would sabotage me by making me so anxious and so fearful that I'd go in the back of the formation at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and throw up. And I would throw up the water that I drank that morning, and I'd throw up the bile that came up afterwards. And so I would do these runs with absolutely no hydration in me, no calories, and that would make it worse. And I'm like, body, why are you doing this? I need that shit. You know, it's like if you actually fucking wanted to help me, but it's my mind, it's not my body. My body is capable of doing this. My body is capable of fucking Uchimataing a dude into next year. You know, getting inside control, you know, going on how he's moving and making sure that my body weight is distributed in the correct position, being in that fucking that cool judo position that I forget the name right now, Kesagatame, being in Kesagatame and executing like a you know, whatever choke, whatever arm lock. That's one of my favorite things to do. I'm capable of doing that. I'm capable of passing the guard. You know, I'm capable of going to side control. I'm capable of reacting to other people's moves. But if my mind gets involved in a negative way, I will not be able to do that. And that's what I have to get past. And I think that if there are people listening who have ways of surmounting those obstacles, then I would like to hear about it. If you want to comment on the Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, shoot us a message on the
shoot
page.
Us a
whatever.
Message.
I don't give a shit.
Give us your techniques, man. I'm open to anything. Give me your techniques for competition day, for the lead up, for you know, any sports psychology type stuff that you might know about, or if you've had the same problem where you have this fear and anxiety. You're capable of doing certain things, but this fear and anxiety of competition, of disappointing somebody, your dad, your coach, yourself, you know, not living up to your own expectations. Like if you have that and it has physically affected you, I'd be really interested in hearing that, you know?
Yeah, no, I would as well. Like it's stressful and it's bad. I mean, like nobody wants to put a lot of time and effort into something and then have it just like get one and done. Like that sucks so bad. Like I've been there multiple times. You know, you just, well, I'm going to train up. Like good example. Like, you know, I'll tell you about life stories. You know, I didn't start wrestling until I was a junior in high school. So I missed out on maybe 3 good years of like a wrestling base that would have helped me out. Right. So the person who was in my weight class graduated. He was 1 year ahead of me. So when I was becoming a senior, that meant that like it was open, right? So that whole summer after wrestling season stopped, I kept going. So I did like freestyle wrestling. I did Greco-Roman. I ran like every day, lifted weights, did like all this shit because I was like, fuck, who's gonna step up? Who's gonna step up and take this guy's place? And I was like, I gotta get in on that. Did all this prep, did all these tournaments, did pretty good. Not like, you know, stellar because it was also like the off season, so all the heavy hitters usually weren't there. And then fucking we started doing wrestle offs, and I lost to a freshman. And I was like, fucking 6 months of this bullshit, getting ready for this one moment.
Yeah.
And I fucking lost.
Oh, man.
I was like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I fucking had the boohoo face, cried a bit. My coach, but what was cool is like my coach was like, I get it, man. Trust me, I totally get it. Because you worked your ass off and then you lose and like it sucks. And you have every right to like cry about it. So fuck it. Don't worry about it. Do it.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I fucking mauled the dude. But it's a thing too. Like I think I put too much pressure on myself. And the same thing goes with jiu-jitsu. Like, you can't put that much pressure on. It's a fucking competition. Like, it's good to compete. It teaches you a lot. You get a lot of experience in it. It's stressful. You really kind of want to see where it is. But
does it affect your livelihood? Are you going to die?
No.
You know, I mean, like that's those are the things that I have to figure out. But there's a mental switch. There's a mental switch that you have to, for me, that I have to turn in order to not be nervous. Like I have to actually convince myself of these things.
Yeah.
And part of that too is, you know, is setting I'm an amateur, right? Setting a reasonable expectation on myself for my lifestyle and for preparation, and saying and giving myself a standard, a limit, a boundary, and saying, you know, this is acceptable for me. So I think what I've settled on and what I'm comfortable with is saying, you know, because I train regularly. I work out in the gym. I'm at a decent level of conditioning most of the time. But I also like drinking beer, man. I like eating pizza. I'm about to eat a pizza right now. But it's so I say to myself, okay, 2 weeks. If I'm going to do a competition, I'll give myself 2 weeks of, you know, either minimal or no booze. So no booze the week of, and then a very minimal amount of alcohol. You know, in the first week of those 2 weeks, you know, and I'll train 5 days a week. You know, I just have my training down well and really focus on drilling the things that I want to drill, and keep my conditioning. You know, kind of ramp up my conditioning a little bit, because I feel the difference when I do more conditioning workouts, and then, you know, I go into something like this, and then compete. And then if I have that block checked, I think that'll take some anxiety off me, and I'll say, okay, well, I stuck to my plan for those 2 weeks, and so I'm good on that. So that's not going to cause me any anxiety or fear over not being prepared and saying, you know, but there's a lot more to it than that. You know, I want to train. And here's the other thing, is that this gives me a reason to train certain things to an extent that I might not normally train them. To say, hey, let's drill this takedown, you know, for the next 10 minutes. Let me just drill it and drill it and drill it, you know, and then you can drill it and drill it and drill it, and we'll both go back and forth and really put effort into this. Or let's drill this transition, or this one move from this position that I wanted, this sweep, you know. That's another reason why I want to compete, is because I think it gives you a reason to train a little harder, to train a little more in a little more of a focused fashion, to figure out where the holes are in your game, what you need. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I told you that the plan is, you know, anything that you see, as long as you give me 2 weeks notice, I'll do it.
Yeah, sounds good. And I mean, like, I think the big hurdle that I think you and I both see at this point is kind of killing the anxiety for the most part. So
yeah,
I think
I don't know that I'm normal either. I think that maybe I have more anxiety than the normal person about stuff like this.
No,
like some people are just fucking zen like monsters. I don't know how they do that. They don't give a shit.
That's because they've done it enough.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you, man. Like, it's the more I compete, the less nervous I get. It's just the way it is. Like,
yeah.
And it resets. Like, before that tag team thing, like, I hadn't done a jiu-jitsu tournament in a while. Like, a while. So I'm sitting there like...
So you felt some more nervousness than you think you normally would have?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I'm like... And I was facing down a purple belt and a blue belt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, man, if I lose this blue belt, I'm going to look like a giant douchebag.
Yeah.
But, no, then it kind of was like, no, that's... My mind recognized it, though, because it's happened before. I said, no, dude, you're like, it's a fucking tournament.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, how many people, how many white belts in the gym have caught me with something?
I probably
like 75%.
More than one.
I was gonna say more than one. I was gonna say, like, probably not the brand new ones, but like, everybody's caught me with something. Like, I'm okay, cool, man. My white belts got me. Yeah, good. Yeah, that means that they're doing something right.
My best rolls are always my most calm rolls, where I disconnect myself from the outcome, are always against higher belts. Always. If I'm rolling with a brown or a black belt, I always disconnect myself from the outcome, and I say they're probably going to get me, so I'll do my best to get them.
Absolutely.
And that's all that I can do, you know. And if I can capture that, you know, I know there's a whole field of sports psychology. And here's the fucking thing, man. Where are all those people? do they advertise? Like, there's actually people who do that.
They do.
Are they only in fucking L.A.?
I think they are.
I think they're pretty much only in. I think all that shit that Joe Rogan talks about all the time, float tanks and sports psych. Have you seen a sports psychologist? Like, dude, I live in Wisconsin, or I live in fucking Kansas. No, I've never seen a fucking sports psychologist. You live in L.A. You have 858,000 jiu-jitsu gyms. You have a sports psychologist on every corner. You have float tanks in the fucking Starbucks, man. Like, you are living the life. But I'm sure that they do exist in other places. I don't know how to find them, especially not in Germany.
I was going to say, like, North Carolina sports psychologist, like, what's bothering you, son?
What's bothering you?
Well, maybe if you weren't such a bitch, it wouldn't be such a problem.
Maybe if you grow a pair.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I see it and I get it, but I think it's just sports psychology, that's stuff like that. So I think it's more of when you get to the point where your blade, like your sword, right, your weapon, you sharpen it to the point where it's going to do some damage when you cut somebody with it. But you really want to fuck somebody up with it. So you need that extra, like, real fine stone to really get that edge. Like, that's where I think your sports psychologists and your float tanks and your wacky supplements really come into play. Like, that's where it is. Like, if I take a block of, metal and I hammer it and I heat it up and I hammer it and I put it into some shape that kind of looks like a sword, then we're getting there, right? That's taking somebody who doesn't have any skills and starting to give them skills. Now we're starting to give them more skills. So that means, I take this shitty looking rock that I found in the river and I'm starting to really shape out, like, what the edge of this blade's going to look like. That's where it starts getting in. But now when we really want to do some, like, serious damage, because now it's quality of blade versus quality of blade, now, like, getting your sports psychologist and getting your float tanks and getting your, like, O2 levels tested and getting your, like, oxygen deprivation tanks going, that's that really fine stone to get that really, like, disgusting edge on it.
Well, I was listening to a podcast with Jordan Peterson. I think it was the Joe Rogan one, and he was talking about the way that, something that really resonated with me. He was talking about the way that he gets people to get over their fears. And it's this exposure therapy, and I forget what the guy was afraid of. I think he was afraid of elevators. That was what it was. And what Jordan Peterson said was, you stand, okay, you're afraid of elevators. Well, before we explore why you're afraid of elevators. You discover you had some experience in an elevator when you were a child. Maybe that made you afraid. But then he's like, okay, in order to get you over this fear of elevators, what we're going to do is we're going to expose you to it, but we're going to start very, very small. And so he'll, like, bring up a picture of an elevator on his computer, right? And he'll show that to the person. And that person, he said, okay, this person has a reaction to that, but he's okay with it. And so they do that a couple of times until he says, okay, well, can I take you to just go and look at an elevator in real life? So they do that, and that's really tough for the guy, but eventually he gets over that, and he's able to stand there in front of the elevator and look at this elevator and be totally calm. And then you step into the elevator, and then you step out of the elevator. And then you step into the elevator, step out of the elevator. You're good with that. And eventually you get to the point where you step into the elevator, you let the elevator doors close. And that's an even tougher thing, because then you're really feeling that claustrophobia. And then eventually, through doing all of that, you're able to go up one floor. And then you're able to go up 2 floors, and you're able to ride an elevator all day. And that's, that sounds very simplistic, but it can take a very long time.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't think it's going to take as long as it might take somebody who has a real phobia of these things. But I think that it's going to be a process. It's going to be, this weekend I'm going to the tournament, and I know when I go to these tournaments, I want to be in there. I want to be competing, but they also make me anxious.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go to this tournament that a couple other people are competing in. The only reason I'm not competing in this is because I had this weekend in Paris this last weekend where I was just I did not treat my body well. Let's put it that way. So I'm like, okay, I go into the gym and I can feel it, and I'm like, all right, well, I know that this whole week is going to be just me getting back into it a little bit and treating my body well again. So, but, I'm going to go to the tournament this weekend. I'm going to watch people, and I'm going to be in the environment, and I'm going to see what the other blue belts are like, what they're doing, and then the next one, maybe I'll do one bracket. Maybe I'll do gi, One tournament, maybe I'll say, okay, I'm going to do gi, just gi, and then the next one I'm going to do gi and no gi. And the next one I'm going to do gi, no gi, and absolute, So I think that it's going to be good. I got a long time. Anthony Bourdain started jiu-jitsu when he was 56 years old. And then he won some Masters tournament in New York, after a couple of years. So I think it should be okay.
What I was going to say, too, now think about it this way. What do people talk about outside the jiu-jitsu community with Anthony Bourdain doing jiu-jitsu? He does jiu-jitsu.
He does it every day. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
They're all like, oh, Anthony Bourdain. Yeah. You're talking about the guy who won the IBJJF Masters tournament?
Yeah.
Nobody fucking has ever said, I promise you.
Yeah.
Anybody outside of jiu-jitsu has never said.
They just say he does jiu-jitsu. They don't talk. So I understand what you're getting at now is that nobody talks about how many wins and losses you have.
Yeah.
They just care about your, the jiu-jitsu. That you do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
If you're doing it to and I get it, man. It does feel good.
Yeah.
It feels real good for people like, oh shit, man, you do jiu-jitsu, oh, you fight MMA, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
People will say, yeah, he fights MMA. But then those of you who are in there are like, yeah, he fights MMA, but he's 0-19, so not very good.
Yeah.
It's just have you ever been on any of these pro fighters Facebook pages and then they'll post something up and you go to the comments?
Yeah, I mean, from time to time.
It is a graveyard of the most depressing shit I've to me it's depressing.
Really?
It's depressing because you get this one guy who's like, well, you know what? Roy Nelson's a good example. Chelsea loves Roy Nelson. I like Roy Nelson.
I like Roy Nelson.
Roy Nelson's cool. I don't know him personally.
Yeah.
I've never talked to the guy. Based on what I've seen of him as a fighter and his posts, I'm like, I can get behind somebody like that.
Oh, I bet people shit talk Roy Nelson all day.
Absolutely.
I mean, dude, because he's, it's so fucking hard to have. Do you realize how difficult it is to have a winning record in MMA? Do you realize how fucking good you have to be? We're talking about Roy Nelson, who has a significantly winning record, right?
Yes.
He has won way more fights than he's lost. However, he's lost a lot recently. Yeah, that's all that fucking matters. And he's easy to make fun of because he's a little fat. But it's you realize the fucking graveyard of people that he's left behind. How many pro fighters are out there with fucking 1-4 records, or 1-2 records that have just been wrecked by all these dudes. There are so many more people that have shit records than good records.
Yeah.
That person has to be so good. If you're going on and you're shit talking somebody, and here's the thing, even if you went into MMA and you were 3-1, or you were 1-4, in your amateur or pro career, dude, that means you fucking got in the cage 5 times.
Yep.
And fought another person one-on-one with the closest thing to no rules that we can safely do as a society. I mean, that is an incredibly legitimate thing to do. And for anybody to shit talk these athletes is just an incredible, okay, I get it. It's funny. And yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of things being funny. The reality is, right? Okay, it's funny. I get that. But in reality, you're kind of a little bitch, you know?
No,
in reality, this is Roy Nelson. It's Roy Nelson, Fucking guy will murder 99% of the population with his bare hands.
And that's the thing, my main complaint. So when I talk about MMA fighters, I never talk about their skills. One of my least favorite fighters is Ronda Rousey, and send me messages. I don't care. I have always admitted she is good at what she does. I've always admitted it. I do not like her attitude. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons I don't like her.
Yeah,
but I understand she was good at what she does.
Yeah,
but straight up, if I go on Roy Nelson's page, some of these people are like, "Dude, Roy, you suck." So Roy sucks, and he could beat you up. Where does that put you?
Yeah, you must really suck.
You must fucking suck.
You must fucking suck.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, has Roy Nelson made millions of dollars fighting? Oh, yeah.
He has.
What do you do? Oh, you work at Verizon. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, Roy Nelson made $150,000 on his last fight. Oh, cool. Yeah, and he sucks. Ah, cool. Yeah, where do you work again? Oh, cool, man. You work for King Supers. You're a manager at King. Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man.
Like it drives me up the wall because you can hate a person for their attitude. I'm down with that. I don't like Jon Jones. Why don't I like Jon Jones? Because I'm not a fan of people running into pregnant ladies and breaking their arms.
That's kind of a bad move.
It's kind of a bad move for me, right?
Do I like Jon Jones? Yes. Do I not condone that action? I don't condone that.
Don't condone it.
Do I think it's absolutely hilarious that he fucking... Okay, so he tested positive for cocaine once. How many times do you think that guy was out at the club partying, doing cocaine while he was training? And he was murking motherfuckers.
It's insane.
It is insane. And it's just... I mean, he's on another level. And that's why I like him, because he's a rule-breaking guy who's just undeniable in his talent. Is he a good person? He might be in a few years. Yeah, maybe he'll become a good person.
We'll see.
I don't know. Maybe he is a good person, but he just likes to party. Maybe he made some mistakes, took some dick pills, hit some pregnant ladies. Whatever, man.
Crashes Bentley with 16-year-old in it. Whatever. Do your thing. Do your thing.
He's a train wreck. People like train wrecks. People don't like the fucking family man Daniel Cormiers of the world. This is the classic.
I like Daniel Cormier.
I love Daniel Cormier, but I'm actually interested in the technique and the art of MMA. I think he's a brilliant fighter. I think the fact that he murks motherfuckers that are way bigger and taller than him regularly is one of the most impressive things of anybody ever. Like, everybody he fights is taller than him. You realize
he picks him up and slams him.
He punches them in the face. He punches tall ass motherfuckers in the last guy he fought. What was that guy's name? Was that Volkan Ozdemir?
Yeah,
was it? Okay, that dude's tall as fuck, right? And Daniel Cormier goes and he punches him in the face. He punches Jon Jones in the face. Like, dude, I don't know how many of you guys have actually trained striking extensively. When you have a reach disadvantage on if somebody has a reach advantage on you, you have to make up for that with closing and angles and being more explosive and all this shit. Like, it's hard. The fact that Daniel Cormier does that is absolutely incredible to me.
Well, he's a rough dude, man. But that's what I'm saying. Just, I guess the most roundabout way I can get to it is, if you're competing and the things you're anxious about is, I guess maybe the view from the outside, you shouldn't be, because the people who don't train don't care. And I don't mean that in a mean way. If they hear about it, oh shit, Aaron, you fucking do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Yeah. That's that shit those Garcia guys did in the first UFC, right?
Yeah, the Garcias.
Yeah, the Garcias, right?
Yeah, Royce.
Yeah, Rolls-Royce Garcia.
The people who don't train don't care, and the people who do train don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care if you win or lose.
Your coaches don't care.
Exactly.
They care because they care in the sense, or at least a good one, will care in the sense that they want you to do well, but they also want you to do your best. It is the legitimate, son, I just want you to do your best.
Yeah.
That's all we care about.
Yeah. And have fun. And that's the other thing, is it's supposed to be fun. And so for me, one of the reasons why I said after those competitions I didn't want to do it, because it wasn't fun. Yeah. I didn't enjoy it. I enjoy going to the gym every day. I enjoy what it does for me on a personal level, physical level, and just being there with people that I enjoy and us practicing the art of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the competition, so I stopped doing it. It wasn't fun. That's part of it. Sometimes you got to do shit that's not fun, but if you don't have to, and it doesn't add anything to you, and it just makes you feel like shit, and don't do it. But I think I'm about to get past that.
I think you are too, man.
I hope so.
You will. You will.
I really want to do a Kimura on somebody. Just fucking.
I think you know what.
Straight
if you put your mind to it,
yeah,
you can get it.
Oh yeah,
I believe in it.
Good times.
Good. So before we head out, since that actually went way faster than I thought it would be, since You're also playing with my Kenyan spear.
Yeah, it looks like a dick. Well, okay. I don't know if it looks like a dick. I don't know any dick that looks like this, but I just feel like holding it in my hand, there's something vaguely phallic about it. But it would fuck you up, dude.
Yeah.
This thing would fuck you up, man. This is just made of wood.
Yeah,
it's like super hardened wood with a little point on it, and it would absolutely just murk you.
Yeah, this was the Maasai dagger.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so he was like, oh, this is a dagger. I was like, a dagger? Yeah, pull it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, that's a machete.
That does legitimately look like a penis. Yeah, but that's sharp, dude. That's sharp.
Yeah, so I was like,
I think it's sharp.
And then, of course, I bought a spear, too.
Yeah, I noticed that wasn't there before. That you'd throw that at a fucking lion.
Yeah, dude, I was
probably
kind of
would still kill you, but
yeah, I was like real excited, and I wanted to get some weapons from Kenya.
Yeah,
because I could be like, what was it? What's his name from Deuce Bigalow? Not Deuce, but the actual Gigolo, where he's like, this crossbow's killed a king. Like,
yeah,
a spear from Kenya, and
yeah, this is cool.
Fuck you up with it.
This is some real martial arts shit.
That's like brutal. Can you imagine just fucking people up,
dude? It's
that's the life or death shit, right?
For sure, man. Somebody comes in your house, you just beat them with this fucking thing. One hit, dude. One hit. You're fucking. If you're not like unconscious, you're dazed. You're so fucking. You don't want to be there anymore.
I bet that kills somebody in one hit.
I bet you absolutely. I bet if you hit them with two hands, you could 100. Even with. I mean, it's so easily wieldable with one hand.
Yeah.
The weight is all in the end of it. If you can't see this, but maybe you'll post a picture of it later. But it's like a long, thin, hardened piece of smooth wood that ends in like a mushroom tip with a fucking like a big mushroom tip. But it's like off to the side. It's not at the end of the stick. It's like to the side, so it looks like it's like a hammer almost, but like without the other side of the hammer. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know
you can see it.
I'm looking at
Does everybody else, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Like a shillelagh.
Shillelagh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay.
Similar.
But that or like a golf club. It's like a tiny little wooden golf club with a big ass head with a point on it.
Pointy end on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably smash your skull in.
Oh, that'd be so. Yeah, let me hit myself with it. That fucking hurts.
That would.
I just tapped myself with it on the head, and it was uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah, I think we should test these out someday on video.
Yeah, let's kill ourselves. Oh.
No.
No.
Yeah, watermelons. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or like pig skulls or something.
Shit, dude. If we get some watermelons and hit them with this out front.
Yeah, let's do that, man.
People would probably love that. Let's do it for Instagram.
Yeah.
All right.
And here's the next thing I want to do. We talked about it, all the bad shit. If we post up on Instagram about what we do after today.
Yeah.
It has to be about the bad shit that happened in the gym.
Yeah.
It cannot be the like, worked real hard today, did some heavy like.
Yeah, really got after it today. Success is earned when you're working. It's not success is I mean it's the work that you put in now is gonna pay off later, man. And it's success and doing great and doing well and everything's going great for me and fuck all you guys, man. Yeah. Just. Yeah.
#
really motivated today and like, dude, you're fucking doing fucking banded squats. I actually saw a post like that earlier. Some Instagram fit chick was just like posted a quote about success, and meanwhile she was just doing squats, air squats, with a band around her knees and holding a plate out in front. Yeah, like you're in the gym. You're just being in the gym.
Fuck it. BJJ, #BJJ sucks. And then we're going to talk about the bad shit that happened in class.
Yeah, #BJJ sucks. Look out for that.
Let's do it, man. Fuck it. We're changing the game.
Word.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to leave the guests the listeners before we head out?
I mean, success is earned every day.
Fucking stab
when you're not. Yeah, man, it's not. You can't see the work that went into it. It's the hard work, success, determination. I'm copying Chris D'Elia now. Anyway, Rod, that was a good podcast, man. Thanks for having me over.
Of course, man. Co-host. You gotta talk more about it. So next week we'll get back into it. And then while I'm working out, I'll make sure I post up all the bad shit that happened during the
bad shit. BJJ sucks.
Hashtag BJJ sucks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been another episode of the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. Member of the Pod Bros Podcast Network. Don't forget to go to podbros.com and find yourself another podcast you want to listen to. Find all of our old episodes on bjjshow.com, as well as our YouTube channel, which will be posted up on Facebook as well. And don't forget to support our sponsors, Trapper Roll Soap Company, as well as Tape Armor. And that's really all I got. So I'm Rob.
I'm Aaron.
We'll catch you guys next time.